Hey everyone, welcome to the Joseph podcast. After many months of asking my husband to do this with me, he finally agreed, and I'm glad that he's here. My name is Tamara.
And I'm TJ, sorry.
So, the reason why I thought it was a great idea for us to sit down together and just chat is because our conversations off camera I feel that they're very enlightening. Enlightening? Is that the word?
Yeah.
Let me know, go and blue English. I just feel like a lot of people can take lessons from the conversations that we have off camera, especially when my husband's speaking. So I thought, you know what? Let's do it.
Really?
Let's do it as a labor of love. Let's do it for the people. You ready?
As ready as I'll ever be.
Fantastic. We are talking about the genesis, how we got here, our upbringing, and the differences between our upbringing.
Keep going. Keep going.
English is hard for me.
It's not
Okay.
her first language.
We're talking about our upbringing, how we got here, and the differences in our upbringing. Even though we're both Nigerian, we have very different stories. And so today we're going to talk about that. And yes, for me, I was born in Nigeria, born and raised. I was actually born in Owerri. So I have a little bit of...
For those that care.
A little bit of... a little bit of Igbo blood in me.
Owerri is in the east of Nigeria.
It's in the eastern part of Nigeria. For those
But
of
she's
you
not
that are
from the east.
yes,
So-
but I'm not from the east. So
Yes.
I was born in Owerri.
Context.
Owerri is in the east, but my mom is from Bayelsa and my dad is from Rivers. So I'm an Ijaw girl because Calabari people are Ijaw people. So I'm fully Ijaw, but I was born in the east, and I love the east, by the way. I lived in Port Harcourt for a very long time, for a few years, and then we moved to Abuja. I was an only child for many, many years.
A decade and a half, actually.
Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
13 years?
Actually, not a decade and a half.
13
Yeah,
years. I was
Just
an
over
only
a
child
decade.
for 13 years.
Yeah.
So growing up looked like being with a lot of older people. So my mom has 4 brothers. And so I grew up with them, and my grandparents raised me and I lived with them. But that's just a little bit of how my journey started. How about you?
I grew up with 3 siblings and 2 parents. Quick maths. I was born in Warri, which is in the Delta region of Nigeria. I was only there till I was 1, and then we as a family moved to Lagos, which was home for the first 7 or 8 years of my life. My family and I moved to England. My parents are Yoruba.
Oh, yeah, both of them are Yoruba.
Both of them are Yoruba. However, my dad was raised by his mom, and she is Ishekiri, which is, Warri, the area that I was born. And so he had a very strong Ishekiri influence on his being. My parents also went to school in the States. My mom was born in England. And so they also we actually had quite a very westernized upbringing, which I actually didn't realize, ironically, until meeting my wife. How 2 people could be from the same country, but from different worlds.
Because I'm from the
So,
Zanga. I'm Ijaw. You are Yoruba. Do you speak
I'm
Yoruba?
confused. I'm not confused by my tribe.
Oh.
I am Yoruba, but I don't speak the language. I actually have more interest in other languages.
Like,
French. I love French. I love as they say in French, en français. Je pense que c'est très. I like languages,
yeah,
but I don't
love
speak
languages.
mine. And it's actually, well, it's not my fault. My parents actually spoke Yoruba growing up, but they spoke Yoruba to themselves.
To themselves.
To themselves. So both my parents fluent in Yoruba, but they spoke it as a way to be able to talk and so that we wouldn't understand what they were saying, which was all fun and games when we were young. But then I remember being older and, aunties and uncles be like, you don't speak Yoruba. And they would say it in Yoruba, which I was going to say, but in my mind I said, let me not say it because I'll probably pronounce it terribly. And I'd be like, no. And then my mom would look at them and be like, imagine. It's like, we're looking at her like, really? The reason we don't speak Yoruba is because you didn't teach us.
Did your dad speak Ishekiri? Oh,
Yes.
What do Ishekiri people speak? Ishekiri?
Yes.
Okay.
So,
did he speak it?
Yes, he did. My language of preference is English. English, and English.
I speak Ijaw fluently
Mm-hmm.
and English fluently
Questionable.
and French fluently. I actually used to write French better a long time ago. In high school, I did French for 6 years, and I wrote it much better than I spoke it.
Yeah, sure.
Why are you saying it like that?
I believe you, babe. I do. I've heard her French accent, and I've heard her speak French many times. And I tell you, like, you would be shocked and surprised to know she's not from, Normandy or Martinique, Paris, Monaco.
Yeah. Je suis très...
She's actually born in Owerri. Born in Warri.
Moved
Literally
to
had my
Lagos.
first birthday in Warri and then moved to Lagos.
Do you remember it?
I don't remember it, but I remember the early days in Lagos. My dad was in the oil and gas space. I speak of my dad in past tense. He's late. He was in the oil and gas space, so we kind of moved around. So actually, both me and my two siblings are born in 3 different parts of the country. Lagos was fun growing up. We had a nice community of I'd say like-minded families around us. And we were very, very close-knit. And, it's funny because I met up with a friend who, from this kind of community of families, about 2 months ago. And it was just crazy. We were just reflecting and saying, man, that the life we lived growing up was really a bubble because it wasn't really the reality for a lot of people. And this is not even a financial thing. It's just the way our parents were and what they exposed us to and what they protected us from and how they kind of, exposed us to the world. So
It was different.
but it was a nice bubble. It wasn't a pretentious bubble. It wasn't a facade. It was genuine love, genuine love, and we all grew up like family. I think that's one thing that I definitely remember. We all grew up like families.
After Warri, you lived in Lagos, and then from Lagos, you moved to England.
Moved to London, yes. So I lost my dad when I was 8. Passed away in a plane crash. It wasn't the best time. My mum was born in England, and all of her family were in England. Her 100% Nigerian, but my grandma, my mum's brothers, all of them at the time were in England. So for her, I know that there was a sense of that family support, and so we basically uprooted. This was 1996, and moved to England, which was, in a sense, familiar, but in another sense, complete culture shock. Actually, not climate shock. Actually, yes, climate shock
and
too,
culture shock.
because it was cold. I
Yeah.
didn't like cold. We'd been to England, but we'd never been to England in the winter. It was always a summer trip. And England for me was McDonald's and riding the tube. It was fun, you know what I mean? But to live there, it was definitely a shift. So London. See, I'm 36. I moved when I was 8, going on 9.
You're not 36 anymore. It was your birthday a few days
Recently.
ago.
Yeah, sorry, I'm 37.
You're 37.
Wow, yeah, I'm 37. London at 8, and then I left London when I was 22. So what's that? Do the math.
That's 14 years.
14 years of my life. So the biggest chunk of my life, because after that I did Dubai, and then I moved back to Nigeria for a bit.
Lagos.
And the rest is to be
Lagos,
continued.
Houston,
Yeah. Well,
London.
Now I'm a beast of no nation. So that'll change soon. But yeah, go ahead, babe.
What was it like living in London? What did that look like? Being fully Nigerian and living in London, or I guess moving to England?
Yeah, so initially it was definitely a culture shock. We moved just south of central London. I had to ride the bus to school. This is going to sound so entitled, but those in Lagos know. Growing up in Lagos,
You had a driver.
who would take
and a
us to
nanny
school.
and stuff.
And even having the driver, we would normally ride with my dad on his way to work, and he would drop us off. Which again, speaking to the westernized side of my parents, a lot of people didn't necessarily have that, but my dad would literally ride in the car with us to work. And if we're stuck in traffic, he would get on a bike. In Nigeria, we call it Okada.
Okada.
He'd get on a bike and go to work and tell the driver to drop us at school. But here I was riding the bus to school, so I'd walk to the bus stop and take the bus to school. I was a day student for the first, I think, year and a half or two. And then I went to boarding school, which was a bigger culture shock because at the time, the school I went to, I think we were 4 black kids in the whole school. Sometimes things aren't an issue until they are.
Right.
You know, I didn't think. I grew up in Nigeria. It's a black country. I knew that England was, I don't want to say a white country at that time, but in my mind I knew that everyone in England was white, everyone in Nigeria was black, minus a few, give or take. But then it was kind of like flip reverse in this school, and it's like, wow, it really hit me. And so that came with its challenges as well, but it was fun. And then they played rugby, which I hated.
You hated rugby?
I hated rugby.
Really?
I played it a little bit in Nigeria because I went to a British school. I was a football guy. I love football. So
Actual football.
Actual football, not American.
Not American football.
Football. I'm
Soccer.
not going to say soccer.
Football.
Yeah, so I hated it to start, but my coach really, I was very fast. So my coach was also my housemaster, and he insisted, and eventually I actually ended up loving it just as much as football. Definitely a shift on that bubble that we had. That bubble wasn't there anymore. It was just us to start with. It was just us. So it was very lonely. It was very lonely. And at the same time, we were also still my dad was still fresh because I left halfway through school in an environment, nobody around. It was quite a lot. It was quite a lot, yeah.
Living in London at the time versus living in Nigeria, you actually remember how it felt?
Yes. Nigeria felt like home.
Really?
Nigeria was familiar. It's where all my friends were. Even the things that would bug you as a child, although as a child, things don't bug you as much because it's all you know.
Right.
It's not until you kind of see other things that things bug you per se. But even the little things, it was home. So
did you guys get up to a lot of stuff in Nigeria? Like, did you get up to doing a lot of different things with family?
Ikoyi Club was the spot. That's where I learned to swim. That was funny because my first swimming lesson, it was myself and my cousin, and our swimming instructor literally threw us in the pool. And my mom was like, "What are you doing?" And you know, Yoruba guy, he said, "Don't worry, madam, you go learn. And lo and behold, threw us in the deep end. And you know, fear is a beautiful teacher because it was literally when they say sink or swim.
You had to survive.
We had to swim.
Oh, wow.
So we made it from the deep end to the shallow end. And I look back on it and I'm thinking, you know what, that could have gone either way. And I guess that's a life lesson because I could have been so afraid from that experience that I never got in the pool again.
Right.
But in actual fact, I swam, I made it, and I love swimming till this day. You
Wow.
know, I still love swimming. I know a lot of black people, particularly here, stateside, they're like, what? No. We're not even talking about getting your
You're
hair
even
wet.
going
We're
too
just talking
far.
about swimming.
Your wife.
Well, she can swim now. She can
I can
actually
swim
swim
now.
now.
It's just
See,
the
guys, I'm trying to look at
fear.
you in the camera, but I'm
Yes.
looking at Vivienne behind the camera. She's responding.
She's
It's like
responding.
it's actually a three-way conversation with just two voices. But I love swimming. I love swimming so much. Yeah.
I, on the other hand,
You're good.
Ijaw people are known for being able to swim,
Mami
but I
Wata.
didn't grow up. I guess I had swimming lessons and things like that. I remember one time I went to Transcorp in Abuja with a bunch of my family, and so one of my uncles, one of my mom's brothers, came, and I wanted to show him that I knew how to swim. So I dragged him and I was like, "I know how to swim. Come, let me show you." It was Uncle Tare, and next thing, I jumped into the pool to show him, into the deep end to show him that I knew how to swim. Tell me why. I almost died.
And for those who don't know, this is the motto I put with my wife. She doesn't like drama, but she's very dramatic.
Very.
Very dramatic. So
Extremely.
everything has an expression.
Yeah. In fact, this mic, I'm afraid, because I just
God,
feel
I
like
beg you. Eh? Ha. Okay. Hey. Ah.
I feel like there's only one Nigerian on this couch.
Yeah,
you
well,
know, at the
no,
end of the day.
There's two of us.
No.
There's two of us.
I'm very Nigerian.
Thorough blood. Thorough.
But anyways, I got out of the pool. I think someone had to jump in to save me because literally I was drowning. I don't know what I thought I was doing, but it didn't work out. And the next time that I remember being around water that was scary for me was when I went to this place in Lagos called Alpha Beach. Is that a thing? Yeah, Alpha Beach, I think is what it's called. And again, it was my mom and her friends, and the water was trying to take me to the other.
See, that's another thing. When she wants to really express something, do you see the accent switch? Anyway,
No,
continue.
but why was the water trying to pull me in the wrong direction?
Oh, you mean the water was following the current? Which
Was
was the wrong direction for you.
now was dragging me inside.
Sorry. Well,
I was just screaming for my life, and someone saved me. And I think that just made me very afraid of water, just generally. So when he started teaching me how to swim, he kept saying, "You know how to swim," but it was just like thinking about the depth of the water. It just scared me for a
she
long
could
time.
swim so long as she could touch the floor.
Yes.
Or she knew that if she needed to stop, she could touch the floor. But when the deep end hit and the floor was getting further away, the stroke stopped.
Yeah. Let's talk about dating while being Nigerian and not so Nigerian. I say not so Nigerian because I actually underestimated how non-Nigerian TJ is. And when I say
Can we
non-Nigerian,
define this?
Okay,
Yeah.
let's define
I
it.
have a green passport. I actually do.
So when we first started dating, there were a lot of things that I was used to in terms of just being fully Nigerian, dated Nigerian guys. It was different with him. There were just certain things about you that were very westernized and very non-cultural in the way that I'm thinking about it versus how I imagined a typical Nigerian guy. Even things as little as English. We would get into arguments because I would use certain words. Okay, let's talk about patronizing. Please. I would say something and he'd be like, "You're patronizing me." I say, "Can I be patronizing you?"
Which one is patronizing?
But which one is patronizing? The patronizing I know is thanks for your patronage. That's the one we...
I'm just happy that she's exposing herself here, not me.
And then he'll say, "You're patronizing me." And I'm like, I don't know what that one means though. Because where I'm from, patronage is that you supported somebody's business.
Oh boy.
I'm saying it and we're laughing about it now, but it was a big issue because...
It was huge.
Yes,
Because I
because...
used to say to her, we both speak English, but we don't understand each other.
Yeah,
We
it
don't.
was really, really
Two
bad.
versions of English.
I'm telling
Two
you.
versions of English. And I even used to get accused of using big English. Nigerians, when they were like, I don't know how else to speak, and I don't
Nigerians.
consider it big English.
He'll say something and I'll be like, that thing you just, I bet a big English you dey speak, oh. And he'll be like,
Queen's English.
he'll be like, what?
So
Now looking back, I feel bad.
again, two different norms. It used to drive me up the wall because it wasn't like I felt like I was getting punished. I used to be like, why are we fighting over a word that I say? And then I would then try and explain it. And the explanation wouldn't go down well because then it would almost come across as what, you don't think I can speak English.
Right.
And it's like,
I'm
I'm trying
can't.
to give context.
I actually
I'm trying
can't.
to,
English was not my first language.
so
Ijaw was my first language.
yeah, you could take the girl out of the village, but so
What was the other thing that was a big culture shock for you in terms of dating me?
pigeon.
Pigeon. Yeah.
Oh,
But I don't
pigeon.
really speak pigeon.
This is her formula.
Somi does.
Formula.
One of my
P
best
squared,
friends.
Her and her friend, P squared. The way they talk, even the way they answer the phone to each other, the aggression is...
Do you know what? I'm actually glad that you used that word. A few years ago, I was doing event decor or planning for someone. And in the midst of the conversation, pointed out to me that, oh yeah, because you come off aggressive or black, or I can't remember how she put it. Something like black people generally coming off aggressive or Nigerians coming off aggressive. And I was so confused. In fact, I was offended until I sat back and I was like, but why would she think that I was being aggressive? Because I wasn't being aggressive. The person that I had the exchange with ended up apologizing to me because obviously I wasn't aggressive, but she pointed it out that day and I thought to myself, that's interesting that people think that because we are loud.
Louder, yeah.
We're louder
Digressing
than-
a bit, for my people,
Yeah.
talk to a Nigerian and go speak to a Kenyan or someone from Mozambique. East Africans, Rwandans,
They're not as loud?
They're just calmer. They're calmer. Maybe it's the dialect, but they don't, come
It's not
across
as-
as. It still sounds softer. But us Nigerians, hey, man,
It's different.
That's the thing.
But that's what we love about being Nigerian.
100%. Going back to what you were saying about pidgin,
Oh yeah,
I don't
pigeon.
come from a pidgin speaking home.
Home.
I
Yeah.
really don't.
It's a real thing.
Yeah, it's
There are actually
it's a
Nigerians
thing.
that
You can
don't
be
speak
Nigerian
pidgin
and
not speak pidgin.
My parents didn't speak pidgin. My dad could. I mean, he worked out in oil fields and stuff, so
He could speak.
he could, but it wasn't his default.
Whereas your wife.
Whereas my wife, so I've mentioned my side of the family, my in-law.
Yes,
side of the
my
family.
wife and her family.
It's been work.
Can you imagine getting a headache
And
from trying to talk?
It just gets tiring.
And then he starts piecing the words together.
It's not natural to me.
No, it's not.
It doesn't flow naturally to me. I can listen to it naturally and dissect it. And sometimes I'm like, man, that's
too much.
Some riddles or some parables. But
Because there are levels to pidgin.
there's levels.
Yeah.
There's levels.
for sure.
And ironically, where I was born and where my dad's side of the family, where his mom's side of the family are from, I worry. Those guys, they speak another word for pidgin was broken English.
It was broken English.
That's their bread and butter. You know what I mean? But
That's true, especially
As
worry
a worry
people, because
people, yeah.
worry pidgin is different.
but it completely skipped me.
Coming into marriage and knowing that you were going to marry a fully Nigerian woman, what were some things that you kind of expected or some things that shocked you?
I didn't know she was fully Nigerian. Because when I saw her page and I heard her speak, I didn't know.
Wow.
I didn't know.
That's what a lot of people
We'll
say.
go into it in more detail.
Another
But the truth
episode.
of the
Don't worry,
matter
we're
is,
here for you
At the
guys.
time that we met, we didn't meet in the flesh. I was in Lagos and she was in Houston. There was even a sense of, okay, she's in Houston or whatever, And even the first couple of times that we spoke, okay, But as the comfort
I
level
spoke
came
well.
up,
Did I not?
everything began to shake. I still love you, I really do.
But it's too late.
Too late at that point. And to be honest, I always knew that if I was going to marry somebody that was from Nigeria, and I say someone that was from Nigeria because for me it wasn't a default. I would marry. Well, we can talk about that another day. But
Yeah.
there was a point where I didn't even think I was going to get married. I was like, I wanted to marry somebody who had a similar upbringing or similar experiences or similar outlooks on life. And typically those tend to come with certain exposures. And I don't for a second want to make it sound snobbish. It's just shared similarities. Because already we're going to have a lot of opposites.
Right.
But just some common ground. And in a sense, I have bantered and joked a lot about Mara being, I call her a local champion. But the truth of the matter is she's the best of both worlds because she can actually walk into a situation and blend. And when it's time to have our son or suya, the wig come off and
Sits on the floor with her pounded yam.
Yes, quite
I like my
literally.
swallow.
So I got the best of both worlds. I was just shocked by one, but in a good way, honestly.
Let's go into talking about us coming together as a collective, getting married and, our journey so far. I think at the start, I don't know if I mentioned, but I was talking about how we can liken our life experiences to the story of Joseph in the Bible. The story of Joseph is a story of restoration, joy, peace, but also grief, pain, jealousy, envy, loss, adversity, you name it. Joseph went through it. And that's kind of what our lives have looked like so far.
Yeah, I think so. Coming together was there were a lot of challenges. We met during the pandemic. We were on two different sides of the world. I was in Lagos/London. She was here in Houston. Family dynamics. Most of my family was in England. Her family was here. Yeah, pretty much everyone. But her uncle, her dad, they were in Nigeria. Our families were all over the place.
All over the
literally.
place. Still are, to be honest. Still all over the place.
Very much so, and just trying to navigate the simple things. Families meeting, us deciding where we were going to be. Funny enough, I was just about done with Lagos. We'll wrap it up so that we don't waffle. But I was at a point where I was ready to leave Nigeria. I had decided to move back. I was there for 4 years. It taught me a lot. I learned a lot. I don't want to make it sound like it was all doom and gloom, but I also came to the realization that it was time to move on. And so I guess that in itself forced our coming together physically, because before we even met physically, we were very intentional. There was kind of, you would typically put that first, where are we going to be? But it was kind of on the back burner. We kind of were just kind of rolling, the momentum was building, and I guess a natural course took effect, and I ended up being like, you know what, I'll leave Nigeria.
Meanwhile, I wanted to
move
back at the sound of the trumpet. Like I was ready to jet back.
Everything happens for a reason.
For me, the idea of living in America just never crossed my mind. I just thought to myself, Nigeria is what I'm used to. Nigeria is home. This just doesn't feel like home.
Yeah.
For a lot of reasons, the US just never felt like home. I don't know why. It just felt different. Christmases felt different, very quiet, very lonely. You know how you know your neighbors in Nigeria? I came, and what I experienced at the time, and this was 12 years ago, so it's been a long time now, and obviously I've grown and a lot of those things have changed. But just the idea of being in a space or a place where you don't know who lives beside you, the person beside you doesn't know that you're there. If my mom didn't live here, a lot of the times, I don't know what I would have done. It didn't sit well with me, and I didn't want to. And for a long time, I told the Lord, I said, God, once I'm done with what I'm here for, once I'm done with school, I'm going back. I was saying to you a few weeks ago that some of the guys that I was talking to before I met him, the guys, some of them. First of all, it was the pandemic. We got on this, what did I get on? What's that app called? The dating app. I tried it.
What's the dating app called?
Bumble. Met 2 guys on there. Sure. And you know what they said to me? They said they want to live here. I said, fantastic. That's why I'm not your girl. Because guess what? I want to move back.
Irony.
And then I met my husband, and he was in Lagos. I said, fantastic. You see? The God that answers by fire.
I'm packing one passport away and dusting off the other, ready to dust out.
I think we've given you guys a little bit of something to look forward to, and I'm glad that we're doing this. Thank you for doing this with me, my love.
It's a labor of love, sorry. Anyway.
This is what we go through.
Wrapping up, Joseph Podcast, episode 1. Thank you, and hopefully you'll be back soon.
This video was sponsored by the Blank Canvas Space. If you're in the Houston area or in Texas and you're looking for a beautiful studio where you want to record podcasts, take pictures, photography, videography, everything.
We'll drop a link in the description below. Thanks, guys.
See you soon.